Hi, my name is Natalia, and normally on this channel I'm putting my podcast video about my knitting, but today I decided to make a video about how much I can knit in an hour, and at the same time talk with you about my way about my thought about sustainable knitting. So yeah, let's try. So I put the timer for 1 hour. Yeah, I don't know how you can see this, but I just will set this on the side and then we will start to knit. I have socks. I already passed the heel and now I should just knit up. I'm knitting them toe up. So let's see. I have the marker row before, so we will see how much I can make in an hour. Yeah, I will probably speed up some of place when I'm not talking because I don't expect to talk in for an hour about this. But there are some thoughts what I have about how to make a knitting more sustainable. For me, it's important thing because now we are so many people in the world, and if we all just made more garbage, then we will basically drown in that. But yeah, I don't want to put any negative thoughts in this, but that is something what's important for me. So I'm trying to do as much as I can um, to make my knitting more sustainable. And I don't know if it's really helpful or it's just my thought and it make me feel better, but I will share what I think about this, and if you have some thoughts about this, then just drop a comment down below. It will be interesting to discuss. So first things what we knitters use is a yarn. Um, Before when I don't know, a couple of years ago, I was buying yarn just for projects. So um, I thought like, okay, I gonna knit a sweater, which yarn I should use, and then I was going and buying exact yarn what I was wanted for exact that project. But yeah, um, I thought that was a good idea about this, and I kind of like would like to follow with this, but it's not always um, good idea because sometimes the switcher don't work out or something else, and then we also like some yarn, we don't know what to do with this, or we have plans to do, and it's always also tricky with prices because sometimes there's good offer in a yarn and we are getting more yarn, or we excited about some yarn so we getting more. So I thought how can we make our knitting more sustainable in connection to the yarn. And first I thought that idea about buying yarn for the project is great, but we cannot expect ourselves to always follow this idea. Yes, great idea, buy yarn just for the project. Second thing I thought it's to buy from your stash, or we can call this buy. It's not really buy, but I mean the way that first when we want to make something, we better look through what we already have. Then maybe we can maybe we actually have the yarn, because buy yarn what we are buying, it's something what we find nice, interesting. So better to knit from this, because I feel from my side that when I buy yarn and it just laying a couple of years somewhere in the cabinet, I'm forgotten about this yarn, and then my taste is changed, or some another things, and I don't like that yarn anymore, or I don't want to knit from that anymore. So I think it's better first when you had idea about project, look through your stash, or even look first through stash, and then maybe you're inspired to make some knitting. So yeah, second idea about yarn, shop your stash first before going to shop. The next thing what I thought about is try to get the yarn from, I don't know, this stash or something like this. There's this stash on Ravelry. If it's yarn what someone already don't want but they bought it, maybe there's no reason for you to buy this again from the shop. That you can buy this from the person who don't really want that yarn anymore. I feel like you're helping that person and you also helping to not create that much stuff all over. I know that some people are selling their yarn through marketplace on Facebook, on Instagram. You can look through the stocks, this stash. I don't know about all country, but here in Denmark we have like special app where people are posting yarn what they want to sell, like what they have in their stash, but they don't gonna use that. So I think it's like great idea. Sometimes also thrift shops they have yarn what you can get. Someone didn't wanted the yarn or someone else or I don't know was moving don't have the place for. So there is always way how to get yarn. So idea number 3 is um, get the yarn from someone from this stash and from someone's this stash. Yeah, and I think one more idea is try to reclaim the yarn. I mean, if you, I don't know, for example, bought the yarn for the sweater and then you start and you don't like a gauge or you don't like a fabric or you left the sweater for sometimes and then you don't want the sweater because the fit is not good on you or something else, then at least for me I feel good about ripping all the sweater and starting some another project with this. I don't feel bad about this. I even feel good about this because I thought like I already pay money for get that yarn. I have this already. I like the yarn when I bought. So maybe if it's the yarn is just not suits with a project what we're making, it's okay to make another one, another project. Yeah. So that's my thoughts about the yarn. Oh, one more thing that I think it's important, at least for me. I like to get the yarn um, that is that I can get in a shop. At least like if I'm not getting this from this stash or some else thing, then I would like to make this get this from a shop instead of online shop or instead of I don't know shipping this from another continent and something like this. I feel like all the cost what's going in shipping this yarn, it's too much for simple sweater or another things. So yeah, there's quite a lot of interesting. I'm living in Denmark, so there's a lot of yarn what isn't available for me and what I would like to try. But when I'm saying that the thing should be shipped from US just for me to try it, I feel sometimes bad about this. So for me at least it's quite interesting when someone is dishashing yarn what they get from US but they for some reason decide to don't use that, then I'm quite tempted to get this yarn. um yeah, so think number 4 was to reclaim your yarn and number 5 was to try to shop locally. I think it's also important to look if the yarn is produced or locally, but yeah, we cannot just all get local yarn because we all live in different environment and somewhere they produce yarn, some in some places they produce yarn, some no. So yeah, one more thing, I thought it's really nice to put for yourself some, I don't know, rules how you want to make your knitting more sustainable, but we also should be easy on ourselves and just don't make sometimes make exceptions from these rules and feel okay about this, because I feel that sometimes I put too much pressure on myself and then I feel bad about this, and I feel stressed about this, and um, yeah, be easy on yourself. It's a best option. I'm interested how much time I have. It was just 10 minutes. I don't know how much rows I make. Not that much. Um, I'm not sure that I like 9 inches. I like it because of like gauge. I'm getting quite tight gauge on this, and it's quite portable, so it's easy to have like a project with me. Um, but it's also quite slow for me, and it's not like on Magic Loop. I can knit and don't watch my knitting, but on 9 inch I feel like I need to watch a little. So yeah, that was about yarn. Second thing, it's about needles. I think with needles it's more easier as with yarn. Probably we all have, not all, but many of us have a big yarn stash, but not that big needle stash, if we can call it like that. Amount of needle what we have. Um, but I think with this we should also go easy and first buy the needles what you need without like, oh, maybe I need, I don't know, 3 pairs of this. If you don't need, uh, if I'm not knitting, I don't know, that many projects in one size of needles at the same time, then probably I don't need, I don't know, 3 pairs of number 2 with long cable, because I will not be knitting 3 pairs of sock at the same time. So I prefer to have needles what I need for the project. A second thing, you also can get them on this stash when someone bought this and they don't gonna use that, and you can get this instead of um, producing more, yeah, or investing more money in something new. Um, yeah, I bought some needles, and I also distashed some needles because at some point I get 2 sets of needles, and I knew that I will don't need 2 of them, so I sell my second. About sets of needles, I also think it's a tricky question. I had 2 sets of needles, but I actually think that now from my experience, there are some needles what I never use from the sets, especially big sizes. I have 2 sets when the numbers are starting from 3. Um, so 3 or 3.5, I don't remember exactly. So at this size of needles, when it's going like 8, 9, 10, I'm not really using them. So I thought, why I need them? So probably if I will buy sets now, needles now, I will probably don't buy any sets. I will probably just get that what I need and get some bag to put this in, and then we'll roll with this. Yeah, so that's, I think with needle it's more easier because we are not getting that much. It's also, I think it's also quite nice to start with a couple of needles and then feel like which you like for what projects, and then if you need more just go with this instead of buying multiple sets and then don't using a lot of them. But yeah, it's just my opinion. Another interesting things about knitting, it's more like accessories to knitting, like project bags. I feel like it's fancy thing and it's nice to have, but I thought about this if my grandmother also was a knitter. She don't knit anymore, but she was knitting when I was younger, and I thought like, did she use project bags? And I don't remember anything like this. I remember she had like a basket where she was having like yarn and she was having this on the side. But okay, normally she was working just at one project at the time. At least I don't remember and other things. Like I don't remember she having multiple projects. Yeah, but I think that at least for me, project bags are not that important. Um, it's nice to have this when I'm taking a project with me. It's nice to have it, but I don't feel like accumulating too much project bags. Um, I have two bags from French Supply. They are not producing bags anymore, and I bought them both when they already was out of market. They wasn't producing bags anymore, and I bought two on this stash, and I bought them locally because again, I live in Denmark. Yes, we can get them in the shops, but I thought it's too big investment. But then when they was out of the market, I thought like I'm probably don't gonna get them anymore. So I just looked through this stash and find two here locally. First one, and then I tried. I like this and got one more. Probably if I will find one more on this stash, maybe I will get it. But mostly no. I'm not. I don't think that I'm ever knitting more than two big projects. I always have a blankets on my needles. It's a big project, but I am not storing blankets in a project bag. They will don't gonna get there. I have them in the baskets. So I'm also using different things for project bags. Like when I just started and didn't had any project bags, I use simple tote bags like fabric bags, like you can buy them, or sometimes on some events they're given this away like a memory about event. So I was using tote bags for that. Sometimes I still use in tote bag if the project is quite big, if from some I don't know DK or worsted weight yarn, and I need all yarn for the sweater and then sweater there, then even French Supply bag will don't help me with that. Um, yeah, but I like simple things. Like I think uh, when I just started to knit, we don't need that much project bags. We can maybe have one, and as I said before, we can use tote bag for this. We can use some baskets, what we probably have at home, or they can be used easily bought in a thrift shop. Yeah, sometimes I also use like a big makeup bags if I have some available. And yeah, there is nothing wrong with using different things to store our projects. Yeah. And last thing, it's stitch markers, scissors, and other supplies what we need for this. I feel like stitch marker, it's nice and fancy, and I have some here, but I think I never bought any for myself. I get that all these stitch markers what I have here I had from some advanced swaps, um, and I really like them and I use them. Probably here it's too much of them. Normally I use if I need socks, normally I'm using one for marker to see where is my beginning of the row. Here I have stitch marker to point where I start leg, yeah, after the heel, and this one I use for mark 10 rows and when I started to knit today. Um, yeah, I like them, but I don't feel like need them a lot. Um, I store them in one place and trying to don't lose that, but it's also quite hard. But I don't feel like I'm the person who will be buying a lot of stitch markers, and I don't feel like they're a necessity for our knitting. Another thing is connected to knitting, it's patterns. And here I feel I don't have, I'm not settled on my opinion yet. So I think it's nice to buy a pattern just when we want to knit something, but I also respect the designer's work, and also think it's nice to support their work. So I don't know, should we buy patterns just when we want to knit a project, or should we buy because we like them and maybe we'll need them? I don't know about this. But that basically was that my thoughts about um, knitting. Well, not about knitting, about how to make my knitting more sustainable. And it's something what I'm just thinking about, my way to knit and my way to make my knitting sustainable. I don't feel like all should use my ideas. I know that there are some people who do much better in this, that I don't know, they will buy wool from the farm and then will spin it themselves, and then I don't know, paint, or will don't paint this and will use it themselves. That's probably more sustainable as I do this, but that's my way to be sustainable, but not that stressed about this. To be sustainable, it's nice, but put yourself in, I don't know, depression because you cannot achieve the goals what you want. It's also not great decision. So yes, that was all. I will continue to knit and then show you how far I went in the end, how much I could knit through the hour. So I'm out of time. Let's see how much I knit through this hour. So I was here on the stitch marker and I marked every 10 rows. So 1, 2, and couple of rows more. I will try to count 6. I'm knitting row number 7. So it's 27 minus 1 because I put here 1 before. Is that? Yeah. 26 rows in an hour. Not that much if you think about socks. My stitch count here on this socks is 56, but I think I should be easy on myself because I talk a lot in beginning, and then 9 each. It's not my, I like this method, but it's not that speedy for me, and I also feel like sometimes my hands hurt if I knit like this in this using this method a lot. But yeah, it's interesting how much we can knit in an hour. That is the first sock to this pair, and I have just 50 gram or 150 gram ball of yarn, and it's all what I have left, but I measure this. I use exactly 25 gram of socks yarn for this one, and I had like this 3 rows of this contrasting color. 25 gram was without this contrasting color, and I have this contrasting color here. So I'm knitting these socks for the present, and I know that this one I had 45 rows before ribbing, so here I already have 37. Probably I will finish these socks today. Yeah, let me know what is your sustainable knitting tips, or what do you think about this? Should we care about sustainability of our hobby or no? I will be interesting to know you. And see you next time. Hi.